Hello, everybody. Welcome to the Freak Show, formerly known as Studio Talk, and I'm your freak guy in charge. But anyway, enough of that nonsense. Let's move on and talk about the discussion of today. Okay, so I did a video kind of relating to this several years ago, and I thought it was worth revisiting today because I've gained a lot of viewers since then, and I thought this is something that could probably help a lot of you folks out there. So I thought I'd touch base on it again, and that is, how much does the quality of the digital conversion matter in project recording studios today? That's the question, or that's what I'm going to give you my opinion on. So let's make sure we understand this one very clear point right here. The numero uno, baby. This is my opinion. If you disagree with it, all good, all good, all good. So yes, well, Barry, what in the world makes you think you're qualified really to have this discussion? Just because you got a lot of crap back there? No. I've been doing this for decades and decades and decades. In the digital recording world, I started at the very beginning. I mean, the very infancy of it. So I've gone through a lot of recording interfaces, digital to analog conversion, analog to digital conversion, and have spent a ton of money on it in the last several decades. And so today I feel like I've got a good solid foundation. I've owned some of the very best conversions in the world. And I've also owned, if I could get my lingo straight today, owned quite a few entry-level pieces, mainly because I use them to travel and do other things. And I just need something with me that I can plug some headphones in and have some relatively good conversion. So anyway, today we're going to talk about that. All right, short, quick history lesson, okay? First of all, before the history lesson, let's talk about what we're really talking about here. I'm talking about recording interfaces that have been released in the last several years. Now, if you're using a recording interface that's 10 years old, this is not likely to apply to you today. It's a matter of where you started and where you're going, or your direct upgrade path along the way. So if you haven't purchased a recording interface for, 10 years or so, then this is not necessarily going to apply to that. And here's why, all right? And so there was a time, really, and it wasn't that long ago, when, conversion was really, first of all, your analog to digital conversion and the reverse digital analog, I'm going to say conversion going forward. Your conversion was one of the biggest obstacles for quite a while, unless you spent a ton of money. The quality of conversion on a $300, $400, $500 interface was absolutely terrible compared to that of a $2,500 interface. They were night and day. And I'm gonna exaggerate the point because I made this comment the last time and people kind of went crazy over it. Give me a break, all right? I'm asking for a break already. I'm exaggerating the point, but I'm emphasizing the difference, okay? Back then, and even further back from then, if you had a significant upgrade of your conversion, it almost felt like you took blankets off of your monitors. The tweeters opened up, the low end opened up. There was so much more clarity. You could hear the details that you were missing in a mix when you upgraded that conversion. So back then, it was probably the thing that people sought the most, for sure. Beyond of all the equipment we owned, that was what we sought to make sure that we had the very best we could afford back then. That was in today's today. Today's a different story. Today is a different story. I want to put some perspective to you. A lot of this is going to fall under just because you can. Does that mean you should? Does that mean you're really going to get the benefit? Does that mean your song's going to be listened to and enjoyed more by people when they get a chance to hear it? Hoping that, of course, that they do. Is that really going to make a difference? Is it going to make a difference between you getting a contract? Is it going to make a difference between you getting an album deal? Is it going to make a difference whether anybody likes you or they hate you because your digital to analog conversion just sucks? So these are the things that, that you have to ponder at the end of the day when you're thinking about these things, okay? So today, digital conversion has become very, very, very good. The difference in an audible standpoint, now I know a lot of you guys like to bring up specs. take your specs and shove them, okay? Most of the time, that almost never translates into the user's end experience. Almost never, especially in the last few years. Now, there was a time specs were super important. Today, I don't even bother reading about them. People get so obsessed over the most minuscule things and convince themselves that, oh my gosh, that is making a huge freaking difference, okay? When in reality, if you said somebody who didn't know anything did a blind test, they're not going to know the difference. Not for one bloody second. They're just not. The average listener is ignorant to these things. No pun, no diss on them or anything. It's just if you don't know, you don't know, okay? We had to learn all this. They didn't. So today, if you're looking, in my opinion, now it depends on where you're going from, right? I'm not suggesting that a $200 interface is going to compete with Prism or other high-end, super high-end conversion. It's not, okay? But is that $600, $700, $800 one, sub 1,000, between 5 and sub 1,000, is it going to compete? It's not going to sound as good as that Prism. I will tell you that. It's not, but it ain't going to make jack of a difference, which is why the vast majority of recording studios pay attention when you see these videos that have these recording studio walkthroughs and notice the conversion that they're using. There are plenty of top recording studios out there today still using Digidesign 192s. Most of them are on HDIOs right now, okay? That's what most of them, those came out a long time ago, all right? A long time ago. They're good. The quality of them's great, okay? But there is better conversion. Apogee, Lynx, Aurora, oh my gosh, what a fantastic box. Prism, I could go on and on and on, okay? But they're not upgrading to these things because they know they don't need to. They know ultimately it's not going to make that big of a difference. Otherwise, if it were that important, don't you think they would have already spent the money and every major studio would be on that level of conversion? Well, they're not. They're just not. And so, look, if you got money to burn, money to throw away, then by all means, buy what you enjoy and brings you joy. Nothing wrong with that whatsoever. But for those of you who are not blessed with an endless pit of a wallet, okay, like the majority of earth-breathing or air-breathing people on the planet, okay, then you're down to the humble world of realizing, there's other priorities in your studio. There's other priorities. Now, what about when selecting an interface? I could do a whole another video on just how to select the right interface because that's a complicated thing. So if you're looking to upgrade your interface most of the time today, for many of you, again, if you've purchased something in the last few years, not something that goes further back, yes, you are going to benefit from an upgrade coming from something like that. Something like an RME Fireface 800 compared to a UFX Plus or UFX 3. They're not going to be the same. Today's going to be far superior to that one back then, and even back then, it was superior to many, if not most others in its price range, all right? So, but going from a UFX Plus, which is what I use, to a UFX 3, there we go, back to the specs again. Specs say it's way better, way better. I've listened to it, and it is good. I expect nothing less from RME. But at the end of the day, I ain't upgrading. I ain't spending the money. I don't need it. I don't need it. It's not going to do anything for me at the end of the day. It's just not. Right? And I don't suspect I'll need to upgrade my interface for another 10, 12, 13 years. That's probably the next time I'll probably consider it. So when looking to upgrade, for me, and I think most people today, is what do you need out of your interface? Today, the digital conversion both ways is solid in most, not all, but solid in most of them, especially the major players that have been doing this for a while, okay? The conversion is good. The most important things to me right now are reliability, right? How well do they maintain the drivers? How long do they support those drivers? In other words, am I going to buy an interface that's going to be unsupported 4 years from now? Or are they going to continue to write drivers for it as operating systems upgrade and change and evolve, and as well as digital audio workstations and everything else? Are they going to continue to upgrade that and support that. There's a lot of value in that. That is worth doing your homework over. What type of connections does it have? What type of digital connections do you need? Do you just need a single set of 8 ADAT-in as an example, just to be able to get 8 additional mic preamps into your recording interface? Or do you need it going both ways? Do you need ADAT in and out? Do you need one set or do you need 2? Okay. What are some other connectivity? Do you need SPDIF? Are you doing something with SPDIF? Do you need MIDI connections? Although that's not a sound thing, but it's still a digital communication. Do you want MIDI built in? Okay. I would argue not much benefit to that day, considering a MIDI, thing is like $20. But regardless, it's one less clutter thing you got to deal with. So you got the MIDI thing, and then you've got Dante, you've got Maddie. For example, I have my UFX Plus connected to Maddie to my Farafish Pulse, leaving all the 2 sets, so a total of 32 more I/O available to me, in a combination of the Pulse as well as the UFX Plus, right? And so that covers, and that's how I get all this hardware back there wired in. It's a combination of those things. And so I'm using all of the I/O that I have here, mainly for my hardware inserts and things like that. So you've got to take a look at that. What do you need there? What do you need as far as analog inputs, right? Do you just need 2 mic pre's, okay? And then and you don't even use anything else. Maybe you just record with 2 mic pre's. You do everything in the box, all that stuff. All you really need is 2 in and probably 4 out as an example. Something like that, so you can run 2 sets of monitors if you want to. That's a very basic configuration. That may solve your needs initially, but if you feel like later on you're going to want to start incorporating analog hardware pieces, then that's when you want to think, okay, this is what I need today, but what do I think I'll need 5 years from now? Because if you buy the right interface, it should last you a long time. So try to get that right so you're not having to sell it, lose money, and then buy again. So kind of keep all that in mind, that your I/O is important. Are you recording bands? Are you just doing yourself? Do you do hip hop? What kind of music do you do? And so, and how many mic sources at a time do you need? Most people can get by with 2. And in most situations, they're really just doing 1. If you're doing 2, you can mic a guitar cabinet with an SM57 and a Royer 121 when you have 2 mic inputs. You can XY a mic acoustic guitar if you wanted to with 2, right? And things like that. If you had an external synthesizer or keyboard or something like that, you could bring that in with 2. So these are the things you want to think about. But like I said, most of you just getting started, you're not really ready for this discussion yet. Go ahead and just buy the interface that you can deal with today, and then 4 or 5 years from now, after you've got your feet wet and you truly have an understanding of everything, that's come back to this video at that time, or by that time I probably would have updated this one, and so the like. So really today, if I'm looking for a recording interface, for me, it's all about the features, the reliability. Those are the most important things to me, and I strongly suggest that you consider that those be high up on your list of priorities, especially for your future growth. Now, I know a lot of you want me to tell you what to buy. I'm not in the business of telling you what to buy. And I just kind of answered why. There are so many variables that would lead me to recommend one thing over another, depending on your circumstances and what you're doing. There is no cookie cutter response to these things, And so, I'm sure you're a smart person. You can do your own research via online forums, whether it's GearSpace, formerly known as GearSluts, or whether it's that manufacturer's own forums, Reddit, all these other things. You can get the real deal if you're willing to spend the time, and it's important spending the time so you save your money. And if you can buy used, consider buying it. I buy used anytime that I can before I buy new. I save that money. So later on down the road, if you do want to upgrade your interface, you'll get more of it back. Obviously, interfaces are like those things. The older they get, they almost become not valuable at all over time. Whereas, an 1176 compressor, well, gosh, based on the last few years, is going to keep going up in price, not going down. All right. So kind of keep that stuff in mind. So anyway, hopefully it's been a thought-provoking conversation for you. I appreciate you watching the Freak Show today, formerly known as Studio Talk. Actually, still known as Studio Talk. I mean, yeah, I'm having a little fun. But anyway, do me a favor, leave me some comments down below. Tell me what you think. I'm sure I'm going to get some opinions on this one. Ladies and gentlemen, bring the opinions down from the upper rafters. Let's get them down here to the front row because I know I've probably ruffled a few feathers. I don't care. All right. Hey, until next time, hope all of you have a great day. Bye-bye.